Hello and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast with the science and the screaming to determine the best movie for any given year. And here we are, our first actual movie we're looking at for 1991. And it is, of course, The Addams Family. Before we get underway, know this is a game show, and I will be awarding points for cogent thoughts, witty answers, and anytime I get a case of the chuckles. Both my friends who are competing against each other, they are my good friends, and they are competing to be best friend. They both have 3 points from our Patreon show. Man, sounds like you ought to think about becoming a Patreon listener.
Oh, sign up for Patreon. Get a point.
Get a point.
Yeah,
Everyone
you
will
guys
get
will
1
get a
point.
point. Right.
But
And
Ryan's going to get the point for thinking of saying that.
It's patreon.com/yourpopfilter.
I got to give Mike a point for remembering to actually plug where they can go and not just tell them to do something and then kind of trail off. But I am going to trail off. You've heard the contestants, Ryan and Mike. Gentlemen, 1991, we were younger than we are now, just to peer behind the curtain. What was your history with the Addams Family?
I missed it all. I sort of did. I did want to say, Greg, real quick.
That's wild.
I do think that Mike is your Fester to my Morticia as you Gomez through this season. Does that make sense?
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
Mike.
And the only reason that Mike got that is because of his bald head and the dark circles under his eyes.
And because of how often Mike says,
I'm fat, so I burp and fart.
Which is classic Fester.
That is a classic right there.
This is not a movie that I cared about at all. I saw the second one way more than the first one.
As you should have. I was a young weird kid very early on, so I clung to Addams Family as if it was some sort of life raft and my only friends. And I loved everything about it. But when I think about them, I'm like, I watched both of them all the time. I vaguely remembered the Fester is not Fester is Fester, and it's just Addams Family Values holds up.
You know what? The bigger part of that Fester thing, or the two things side by side, is the fact that Carol Kane is not the grandmama in this movie.
That
was
is weird.
Shocking.
Which means this new grandmama, I guess the original grandmama, is forgettable.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I had Nelson Mandela affected Carol Kane into this movie.
You are both Gremlins 2 style bigger fans of the sequel than of the original.
Oh, yeah.
I think sequel one, I do think it's so weird that the creators always want to rip Fester away. Like that's their one thing they have is Fester should never be in. But I think the sequel is a cleaner plot, clearer, the jokes hit harder, and every character has more to do.
And it's not the director's first movie, which we'll get to later, but I think is so important.
And gave us sweet, sweet, hot, sexy Joan Cusack. I was as
Joan
a kid,
Cusack, future Pop Filter Hall of Famer Joan Cusack.
As a kid who one of my earliest adult crushes, it's not just another kid who I have a crush on, is this is a curvy woman. I was flabbergasted as I went through her career to be like, she's not a sex pot in everything she's in? What do you mean she's the dowdy secretary?
I think here the Joan Cusack role goes to the woman that Cousin It winds up with. Which, Mike, you'll remember from Orange County is Gary Marshall's wife.
We're the same height.
It became clear to me watching this movie that the central problem with the Addams Family is you got to get rid of some of them. Because the thing was when Cousin It shows up again, I was like, oh yeah, this guy. Why hasn't he been around? And then he talked twice, and I was like, get the fuck
get
off.
him off the fucking stage.
Where is
that Night at the Apollo hook? And get him gone.
Well, that's why he is a scene. You remember him as a kid because you're that big furry guy, but he's never been a core family member.
He's no Chewbacca.
He's no Lumpy.
Yeah,
Chewbacca.
He definitely doesn't look exactly like Chewbacca.
He looks exactly like him, but he reminds us what's so good about Chewbacca. He doesn't have that. Yeah, he's got that voice instead of the little
beaker.
Yeah, the weird little when the tourists are tiny in Mulholland Drive. And
no.
Yeah, that's what it is. And that's why
we're talking about non-spooky movies, not actually spooky movies. If Cousin It wore the bullet belt like Chewbacca does.
Yeah, the bandolier.
The bandolier full of bullets for a gun that he does not actually carry, then you would have liked Cousin It more.
What if he had just a human dong just sticking out of the front of all that? And it was flopping around and no one ever said anything.
I don't think he wears clothes, so there probably is a furry dong underneath there.
So I've seen this movie a couple times. I thought it was pretty good. I know that the stock has risen. The stock keeps going up for both of these movies. I gotta say, I kind of liked it. It was refreshing to not have Tarkovsky direct this movie. But I'm going into a movie of the year movie. It was cool to not, and I don't know if that's a plus for Addams Family, but I laughed a lot, and Tarkovsky does not make me do that.
Have we done non-Pixar kids movies on this show before?
Is Die Hard a kids movie? That's
no, it fucking isn't.
That's the big classic argument. Is it or is it not a kids movie?
I mean, on this season we have Beauty and the Beast, but we haven't done that yet.
We will get to it, but yeah, it was weird how just like, oh, this is for children, so I think it's unfair to hold it against. But like, do they know that kids barely like put on a movie and then run around tearing up the living room? So it's okay that there does not need to be a plot that fucking makes sense to anybody paying attention at all.
Well, you know what? This is a little bit like the Holy Grail, or it's kind of almost like a skit show.
Yeah,
it's like very just barely a movie with any like coherent plot.
But what's the threads that they try to say this is a movie are so insane that it would be better if it was just a series of Addams sketches.
But like you can feel watching it that the writers or whoever, the producers, whatever you want to say, are like, this, we need more than this.
Right.
And then
like that, for instance.
They complicated the plot more, and then they were like, oh, that's too much. That's insane. That doesn't make sense. It's time to shoot. Let's just do it.
Well, maybe we will get into that in a future segment. But until then, let's go to this short break. Well, that is very, very funny. Or very sad. And perhaps now you have something to think about. Or very problematic. And perhaps we have something to think about. But in any event, I'm sure you have some reaction to what you're listening to. So why not check us out on the social media? You can go to Instagram or Twitter and find us at YourPopFilter. Email contacts@YourPopFilter. Hey, everybody. Keep watching them movies. They do what they want to do. Say what they want to say. Live how they want to live. Play how they want to play. Dance how they want to dance. And even kick and then slap a friend. Yes,
are you crying, Greg? Greg is crying right now.
This is so beautiful.
It's also normal up until that part. And then you're like, well, that's don't slap and then kick a friend. What? Yes, I'm speaking of the Addams Family. Based on a series of single-panel cartoons from The New Yorker, and more directly based on a couple of attempts at a TV show, the Addams Family introduces us to the Addams, family of monsters and killers, who we like because they have a profound insouciance, and also the parents are nonstop sexual dynamos who remind us that it's good to be alive, even if we're undead. Here we get the family as they vibe, murder people, and attempt to reconnect with who they think is Uncle Fester, but is actually a con man who looks like Uncle Fester, who is actually Uncle Fester. Spoilers. Gentlemen, I ask you this. Big budget genre comedy, movie based on a TV show, original song by a pop star. In many ways, The Addams Family is the perfect movie to kick off the 91 season. Does it rise above? Or has it stood the test of time compared to the dozen other movies of its ilk?
Yeah, I think there's a reason there's heartwarming and fond remembrance of this more than like the Beverly Hillbillies film.
Oh, how are we not doing the Beverly Hillbillies this season?
With Natasha Lyonne, I think, is the one standout in that.
This is kind of like the Beverly Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, Greg. It's what I think why this one ups is who they got to act and inhabit most of the roles. Like the big roles elevate it and so embody it that make
Ernest P. Worrell played the lead in Beverly Hillbillies. So
the movie?
Yes.
And is that Ernest from the car commercials?
No, I'm going to talk about a different Ernest. Yes, it's Hayburn Ernest. Ernest.
This is not a property like Addams Family as a property. Nobody hates it.
Right.
But does it seem at all odd that we get like remake after remake after remake after? Is it cheap?
Well, Gary Larson had said nobody could ever make his stuff into anything else, so they went to Charles Addams. I think it is this, and it's gotten like through the 2000s and say it's gotten easier, like morbid and gothic stuff. But I think it was like this. The one darkness you're allowed to like is the fucking monsters and the Addams Family.
Uh-huh.
And
I remember sorry, but I remember being a kid watching Nick at Night reruns. You know how like you'll like everybody's seen one episode of every show thanks to Nick at Night, and I remember liking the Munsters more because it was less weird. You know, like
their
Monsters
thing
was the thing to go, and it was also more pointable monsters. Like that's a Frankenstein, that's a vampire.
Yeah, this is kind of just weirdos, right?
Yeah, these aren't monsters. These are the family who would go on to start Hot Topic and then be upset how big it got.
They're very much kind of unclear about what exactly they are and what they're not.
I think they're rich, eccentric European, like Eastern European derived families. They are not undead. They are just obsessed with death, and because there's so much incest, this is how I'm reading it. There's so much incest, which is why there's hunchbacks and Siamese twins and conjoined twins. I'm sorry, and there's all like they're all weirdos because it's just this rich fucking freaky family. But because at this same time, everybody on TV is a husband who's like, my hot wife, she wants to fuck and I hate her, and so I think what. I cannot speak to the 60s Addams Family, but why this sticks out is, god damn, does this family love each other. And as in the 90s, all of our families were ripping apart, except for you, Greg, you weirdo. It was nice to be like, oh, there's a family who likes each other.
Greg's parents, infamously not divorced, which still fucks us up to this day. But yeah, I think there's something there in that the Addams Family sort of works in this way where, like, we were in this era of, I don't know, is this suburban Leave It to Beaver family correct? And so watching this movie, I didn't think of the Munsters. I thought of the Bundys.
Yes.
Yeah, right. That's what Mike brought up too, so he's going to get a point.
I think that, like it's about being the outsider and hating each other on the inside or loving each other as long as you protect each other if anybody comes to your door with pitchforks. And that's the kind of thing that we were getting.
Dude, I feel like the song is central to our understanding of the movie.
Wait, the Hammer song or the da-da-da-dum?
The MC Hammer song. Obviously the da-da-da-dum is that's classic, right? But the MC Hammer song, that I feel like was a big deal. Were you surprised in watching it that it's only the end credits and that his music is briefly featured other times?
Yes, I think again this is the melding of the two, because in the credits of the Addams Family Values, I don't remember the second song, but his head is on a platter and he is rapping while Pugsley and Wednesday are dancing around him. And so he comes back, I think, for that with the different. So it was all blended.
The song for the second movie was supposed to be Michael Jackson.
Is that true?
Yeah, but he got busted or that's when the rumors started.
Oh man,
I'll call them rumors. Right, I'll call them allegations. Right.
Maybe
now.
Don't have him around child actors.
But then the second movie went and got tag team for a song called something like "Whoop." There, it's Addams.
Yeah.
And then on my blending, I've just watched this MC Hammer music video a bunch. Then
that Hammer is exclusively the first movie.
Okay,
yeah.
So it's all blended. Thank you for the history lesson.
And within the movie. Not within the movie. Attached to the movie is his song, and then within the movie, there's three little blurbs of his music that doesn't really stick.
Cousin It rolls up, listening to hot ass Hammer in
Too
his car.
legit, right?
Yeah, and Cousin It is inarguably too legit to quit. There is no way that you could get him to quit.
They asked him not to be in the movie. They're like, "Would you please quit?" And he was like, I can't.
What I like is he was supposed to be a background character like Lumpy and Dumpy, but he had a whole little side plot of stealing a married woman because that's what a sex pot Cousin Ed is.
Looking at 91, this is our entrance into 91, right? This is a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable. Do we have any pause that 91 maybe isn't going to bring the filmic quality that not that it's going to hurt the season, but just coming off of 75, this movie has a profoundly different feeling than those movies, right?
Okay, so
like Dog Day, for instance, Ryan. This is very different than Dog Day, wouldn't you say?
After 75, after Dog Day, the second best movie of 1975, this is different, but I think that we're still in the ripple of Ghostbusters of high budget genre movies will get all audiences. We're going for four quadrants here.
The classic four quadrants.
Four quadrants of fucking coming to the theater. And I think that it worked, and like it did. Like this did big box office, and it's still remembered. That's the thing that I want to explore because, like Mike said with Beverly Hillbillies, there are every single show. There is straight up a My Mother the Car or Car 54 Where Are You movie. You know, every single show got a movie at this time. This one held up.
There's a Dragnet movie, Ryan.
There's a Dragnet movie with a better rap song than Addams Family.
Watch yourself, counselor.
You're bringing it. To have the moxie to say something like that, you got to appreciate
Is
it.
MC Hammer the rapper that Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks were in 1987? I don't know. Frankly, I don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if ultimately that is knowable. Is there any other 90s artist that could have done the song or the music?
I think Sinead O'Connor would have rocked the shit out of this movie
if she hadn't torn
but
up.
Even the Addams aren't into. No, you know that's why she's one of the Addamses. They would definitely rip up a picture of the Pope.
Well, she tore up that picture of Dracula.
Oh, they were not into that.
They got very
upset. Do you mean the Pope of the Dark World?
Yeah, dude. They're like, wait a minute, hang on.
Dark Pope?
My dad's a Dracula. You can't do that.
Oh, man. I hope the fourth season of the new Pope is the Dark Pope. And it's just Dracula walking around his castle.
Dude,
I'm so honored to be a Pope.
I want at least once some kid to say, my dad's a Dracula.
I want to explore the Dark Pope cinematic universe. Dude, Dark Pope, that sounds lit. I like that idea. When we come back, we are going to construct a Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore.
Rushmore. What is it exactly? We don't have time to go into it, but we are going to construct.
Listen to any of our other shows.
Yeah, we talk about what it is all the time.
No, science still doesn't know.
Let me give you a hint. There was a big earthquake, and it burst from the earth just looking like that, and no one knows why, okay? And we're not going to look into it, and we're not going to think about it. Sometimes 4 fully formed heads pop out of a mountain for no reason.
It happened!
Just get over it.
It's like when you fall asleep and your hand dangles off the bed and then your dog licks your hand and then you realize you don't have a dog. Just don't look into it. Sometimes the world's scary.
Yeah. Sometimes you wake up and your wife's not there and you don't see her for a few years. Get over it, okay? These things happen. Speaking of spouses, we are going to construct our own Rushmore of absolutely horned up spouses. Now, if you grew up in the time that we grew up, generally the one thing you were promised was that when we were kids, it was understood in TV and movies. If you were single, you were having hot, fun sex all the time and really enjoying it.
Like every time you went to the bar.
Yeah.
It would end in super charismatic, lovely, gentle, romantic, hardcore, fucked up sex.
That's what it was like before phones.
Seinfeld literally had a different girlfriend every single week.
It's like a who's who of the hottest actresses of all time of that era.
Now, on the show, they weren't just teenagers. In real life, he actually dipped a little bit into that pond. And then on the other side of it, it was like if you were married, then like that, the marriage bed is where all sexual excitement went to die. Addams Family dares to say, wait a minute, marriage bed is where things go to die. That actually sounds kind of hot. All right. So we are going to look at other horny spouses in the canon.
I got to say, Greg, this is the hardest Rushmore when you task me to do a Rushmore, I go and sit on a hill and I stare at the sky and I don't go online and I try and figure out what's up.
Yeah.
This is the hardest one ever because you realize every movie has ever been about let's get them together and then end the movie.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude. Every Jane Austen book is like the whole book is these two people about to smooch, and then the last 3 pages is like they smooched and they got married and then their lives continued. Like
it's so weird that pop culture has decided that stranger first time sex is what is great and not getting to know what turns the partner on.
Also like we know what to do and we know the right foods to put on your nipples.
And in your belly, honestly, the older you get. That really matters.
So we want to say shout out to the married people who know how to get down.
I will say, try to sit on the hill, then did research. Don't look up TV's horniest couples on your work computer because now you have a weird... It's does not give you a list of what you want.
So, Mike, why don't you go first? And you can spray to as many fields as you would like, and then I will let you know whether or not that's the right thing to do.
I will... do that. I think Coach Taylor and Coach's wife, Tammy. Hey, y'all, from Friday Night Lights.
Let me real quick. Let me say
all
that
they ever want to do is drink wine and fuck, and their stupid kid and their stupid non-kids football players are always showing on and interrupting every time they're trying to get it
this
down.
is actually not that hard to do if we're doing TV. Sorry, I should have said that. If we're doing movies, this is difficult, but not if we're doing television.
I disagree on all counts.
Well, this is the couple from Friday Night Lights,
Yes.
and they always want to do it, but then the Friday Night Lights won't let them.
Having done a recent rewatch, the Friday Night Lights always turn on right before they bang.
And they were like right in the middle of the field.
Right in the middle of the field. This is where you're going to bang if you're the
I'm going to
coach.
put that on my hardcore maybe list because I just want to see what else is out there. I just want to play the field a little bit myself.
So TV's Friday Night Lights.
Yes. So Ryan, do you want to give one of yours, or do you want to just keep complaining about what's going on?
I am going to say that once they got together, Shrek and Fiona had non-stop humpy eyes for each other. And humpy eyes, I know that you think that, oh, that's rude. Their eyes were born with humps. But no, I'm talking about how they wanted to have sex with each other and talked about it all the time. They were a committed couple. And I'm talking after the first movie, right?
Yeah.
So Shrek 2, Shrek the third.
This is when they're both ogres.
When they're both ogres,
Yeah.
Shrek the fourth. That Shrek and Fiona had this magical humpy chemistry that we're talking about with Addams Family.
Okay, I like it. I'm going to put it on. I'm also putting that on the maybe pile because I feel like you're reading into that a little bit just based on the fact they're both monsters, and that's I'm afraid to go down that road. Mike, what else have you?
Monsters are horny.
What else?
Monsters are
what
horny.
else have you got, Mike?
I have that Jim and Michelle. So much of their entire. We have so many movies with these two American canon folks. This is Jason Biggs and Allison Hannigan from American Pie. But once they are married, they do not stop shoving trumpets and flutes and other musical instruments in each other's stuff. They are always trying to sneak away from your reunions and your weddings and your 10-year get-togethers
You know what?
to go fuck more.
I like this one. It's a movie, so nobody can get upset about it. Classically, one of our most important movie franchises, and also one of our horniest. And they allowed us to extend that into marriage as well, and I think that's really important.
Yes.
Ryan, what do you have?
I am going to select from a movie that we haven't done this year yet, so we haven't underrated it, but I do think that the world at large does. It's called The Birdcage.
Okay.
And it's a bunch of antics. It's a bunch of like cons and like, oh my God, there's so much sitcom shit to do. But in the meantime,
A lot of farce, right?
so much farce.
Yeah.
Like I would say a Frasier level of farce.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
But in the meantime, I think that Albert and Armand, Robin Williams and Nathan Lane, find moments to be this super horny married couple.
Yeah, you know what? I like it. There's that energy there. It's a movie. And yeah, like they're serving good spousal horniness throughout that movie.
Like the Bible says.
Like the Bible says that you're supposed to do.
The only type of horniness there should be.
And also it's like the horniness isn't contained just within them. They're kind of horny for other people that are around. Hank Azaria is a little bit horned after.
Oh man, Hank Azaria. Horny.
All right. So that is also on the mountain, Ryan. Was that you?
That was me.
Yeah.
That was right.
I'm paying attention. I'm following what's going on here. Mike, let's go back to you. Let's give me another candidate for this mountain.
This couple doesn't seem like they are so strict and straight-laced. And in the 70s, nobody wanted to fuck at all if you were in suburban Wisconsin. But the Foremans, Red and Kitty, also, when these goddamn hippie-ass kids are in the basement, all they do is bang. Red and Kitty are constantly grabbing each other's hands to rail it out.
That is very true. They are definitely super horny for each other. My only question is, like, is that iconic? Or is that 70s show an iconic...
Is it on Nick and Night currently? I couldn't say.
Man, is that still like a thing? And then is it just this?
I think so. When I realized Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was on Nick and Night, I was like, I'm too old to live.
That is so rough. Okay, well, I'm going to put Kitty and Red very high up on my maybe list because that's definitely a couple that is horned for each other. But it's the iconic thing that's got me worried. Ryan, how about you?
Understandable.
I would say, again, this is like the Shrek thing of after the first one, throughout all the sequels, even though they were both, I think, kind of dumb and not super good looking, all Rocky
Is that even
all
allowed?
Rocky and Adrian wanted to do was fuck, and every single time they got a second away from their crazy ass lives of being a superstar boxer and a boxer's wife, that all they wanted to do was rail.
Yeah, I think that's all that exists for them.
Yeah,
You
like
know?
their conversations, their date
Yeah.
nights, not that
It's his
intellectual.
job to get pummeled into submission, and then when he's done, he just screams out her name in a guttural voice, and she runs out. Yeah, that's going right onto the mountain. They're definitely horny for each other, and that's it. That's the only thing they got. That's keeping them together. All right, Mike, I'm gonna give you each one more chance, and then I'm gonna go to the maybe pile and fish one out of the grease there.
I think that I'm going to try to make Ryan happy and do another movie
Nice,
one.
good idea.
That at this point, you have to forget what's happened in real life and that they do not want to talk to each other ever, and that maybe there's been litigious stuff. But Doug Liman directed the sexiest, most violent couple in Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie are trying to bang it out and kill each other throughout that whole film.
Yeah, and honestly, to me, it does not it's not diminished by the fact that they now probably hate each other and never want to be each other, because I think that was informing some of the passion.
Yeah, that's the murder stuff.
I do like that. Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Smith from that movie. Ryan, how about you?
Okay, so I've got a couple here. I'm trying to decide. One I think is not as iconic, so I'm going to go with this other one that I don't think counts. And that is Clarence in Alabama got married real quick. And so it's not like the sort of like romantic, like the hardcore marriage that we're talking about. But Clarence in Alabama, once they get married at the beginning of True Romance, they fuck constantly. They're kids. They're kids on the lamb.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like...
The lamb's sexy.
The lamb is, oh God, the lamb is sexy. Man, it's late at night and you want to be on the lamb, you should get on
Just
that
put
lamb.
mint jelly all over that lamb.
Yeah, and everything they do becomes sex.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just that, like what we're talking about, if Gomez and Morticia are our guiding lights, then it's not about the whole, like, I still find you sexy after all these years. For them, it's like, I still find you sexy after the last couple of days of bank robberies or whatever the fuck they do. But they did technically get married in the beginning of the movie, and so that's why I'm saying them.
Imagine Gomez and Morticia on the lamb.
Having just gotten
They
married.
would never stop fucking.
Oh my God. They don't need the lamb.
Yeah.
But now you've added the lamb.
Well, Ryan, I'm gonna make that the last selection, because you know what? We are celebrating the entire catalog of marriage. That fire in the beginning, all the way to the fire right at the end, all the way to where you're still horny for each other, even though maybe you're both dead or something. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. So Ryan, let's look at that Rushmore.
Your Rushmore of horniest, but like sex positive, right? We're all down.
Of course, yes.
But
Yes.
these spouses are as follows: Jim and Michelle from American Pie, Albert and Armand from The Birdcage, Rocky and Adrian from Rocky, and Clarence in Alabama from True Romance.
Well, very nice. A lot of horny couples. I'm sure there's going to be little tiny mountains here pretty soon. All right. When we come back, we turn to talking about tone.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening so far. And let me just tell you that everything ahead of this commercial is much better than what came before it. That's my guarantee. While I have you here, let me tell you about a website. It's called yourpopfilter.com. And it's everything you need that's related to Pop Filter. Everything Mike, everything Ryan, everything Greg, everything Cassie, everything is there at yourpopfilter.com. While you're there, go to yourpopfilter.com/Amazon. Make that your new Amazon bookmark and do your shopping from there. That way, we get a little piece of the action and Amazon doesn't. Make sure you're also listening to everything that Pop Filter has to offer, which includes the Superhero Show, a podcast that covers every single TV show that's based on a comic book or comic book property, and Movie of the Year, where we sit down and try and figure out what is the single greatest movie of any given year. That's Superhero Show, that's Movie of the Year, and that's yourpopfilter.com. Rate, subscribe, review. Bye!
Gentlemen, does the Addams Family have tonal issues, particularly with its varied senses of humor, or do all the ingredients create the perfect stew?
I think there's a well-blended stew here. Are you a adult and you're loving how badly Gomez and Morticia want to rail instead of deal with any of their problems? Are you a kid and you're loving Thing just showing up on people's shoulders and having them freak out?
Is there a thing in every room, by the way? I really feel like that thing showed up way too much. Like, that hand can only run so fast.
Did you see the FedEx commercial in the middle of the movie?
Yes,
it
I
can
saw the
run
FedEx
very
commercial.
fast.
What I expected going in was that this was going to be filled with double entendres. What I actually found more than that was Bizarro speak.
Yes.
You know? And
Yeah.
like,
Oh, yeah. This is bad. That means it's good.
yeah, and that gets aggravating. The last time we saw this was Sabrina, I think, the Netflix show, where it was like, I swear to heaven that I'm going to kick your ass.
Yeah.
Like, that whole, like, just reverse the word.
When that pissed me off the most in Sabrina was there was a trial and the judge said chaos in the court. And I was like, yeah, that's what they are doing. So they should be making you happy, asshole.
That's the hard part about writing Bizarro is what are you actually saying? What do you
want here? But yeah, there's so much of I slept poor last night. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, does it behoove the movie to make this all hang together? Because I feel like the movie that I was thinking of when watching a lot of this was Rocky Horror Picture Show, which just came out for our Patreon episode from 75, right? And I felt like the tonal inconsistencies, especially where they intersected with like jokes about consent, that we found Rocky Horror wanting because it lacked a consistent tone. But is it necessary when you are doing these stories about like gothic monsters that are also comedies? Is it necessary to have a consistent tone?
I mean, I think that there are movies that do this better, that have this tone better, but I do think that like so much of this conversation happens in the first 10 minutes where we're seeing a movie that is, you know, classic live action Looney Tunes to the point where nobody moves a muscle unless it comes with that crash. You know, like there is in the first 10 minutes we have literally every type of comedy that has ever existed.
Yes.
And then it slows down to the point where I can watch the movie. But that first 10 minutes is
it's like they're
it's
sweating.
impressive.
They're so nervous that they need you to get on board quickly that they shotgun over and over again. And I think the opening scene lets you know what you're going to get. Like, I bet there are so many people who saw this in 91 who went around caroling who never knew how annoying it was. And this movie lets you know that they are the villain. And they poured boiling oil on these carolers. Okay, death is funny. Let's move on. Like
we never, like, one of the great things about this movie is that that was not like a candy from a, you know, like a children's bag of candy. That was boiling hot wax or oil that they dropped on those people. Pugsley gets electrocuted in a chair. We never touch on that shit, right? Like we never go back to that. It's just like
he also causes a fairly large car accident.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You can hear the fact because he has the stop sign and. A great and I don't know how many good callbacks there are on this movie, but when we finally see Pugsley's room, it is filled with stop signs. So this is like, oh, it's Monday at 2. I got to go do my thing.
They just keep putting them back, and he goes and grabs them. But, you know, so like, because there's the temptation to be like, they're monsters, but really they're just like you and me. But the Addams Family is not just like you and me. They're not just monsters in the fact that like they are misunderstood Frankensteins that have to be outside of society. Like they torment their neighbors. They kill people that come to their house. They cause accidents. They cause ruin.
But the ultimate reason, besides the sound effects, that I would say that this is a live action cartoon is that there's no ramifications from one scene to the next.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like there's a lawyer that comes up and says, hey, you did murder 30 carolers. And I understand. Carolers are the enemy. But all we're left with is, like what Mike said, carolers are the enemy. And so we can laugh at the fact that they are fucking annoying. And it's not, it's finally okay to be the person who says, that shit that you do, where you all feel good about how you walk from house to house singing songs and forcing people to stand at their door and watch you that entire time, that's awful. Now, we can just laugh at that and not think about the ramifications around that. That's how it's a live-action cartoon.
Which is interesting that two of the bigger non-Addams characters are a lawyer played by Dan Hedaya, and then their neighbor is the judge. I'm pretty sure a town judge could get you arrested for constantly breaking all of his windows with golf balls.
Well, in the first scene, Gomez is like, sorry, Judge. That solves all problems.
Damn you, Addams! Addams? Yeah, well, they have some sort of weird hold on the town, right?
But being able to torture
Money.
a neighbor and like the neighbor just being mad like this, waving the fist, is classic one-panel comics.
Oh,
You know,
yeah.
like that's all one-panel comic energy is, you drove on my roses again.
I think the tonal shifts often come from not just the different kinds of jokes, but it does feel like, so you have the gothic of the Addams TV show and cartoons, but then there's add a dash of Goonies with like money and lost treasure, add another dash of My Cousin Vinny because that was recently big because there's lawyer stuff, and they're just like, let's stir it up. And so sometimes it really works, and sometimes it is that convoluted, what the fuck is going on right now?
Well, yeah, because sometimes they're like, the real monsters are people like this, con men. And then it's like, well, but we just saw the people that you're saying are not monsters burn a bunch of people with oil.
Yeah.
Like, they're the real monsters, right? People that will assault other people with hot pitch.
But that's,
because so fake Fester, before we learn he's real Fester, and Fester's mom, also the way they talk, it's clear they murder a bunch of people, but they're bad because they're against the Addamses. You don't steal people and force them from their homes is, I guess, what the tote. I don't.
well, another thing that you might want to learn from 80s movies, and as we talked about in the 91 intro, this is the 80s. Is go against the main characters. Like, why would you ever go against the main characters of movies?
Why would you
Their name is the movie, guys.
Yeah, you're in the Addams Family movie, and you're going to go at the Addams Family in the house of the Addams Family?
And so what that means is that we're just in a classic snobs versus slob situation. Like, this is essentially Caddyshack. Of course they're awful, but the normal is more awful than any non-normal could ever be.
I think that the funniest the normal is awful is when they go to see the kids play, and that their faces are my face every time I've had to see a friend's kid or a niece and nephew performing a play.
It's like, this is disgusting.
Yeah.
This is awful. And then that's fuck all the rest of the crowd. The Pugsley and Wednesday duel with fake blood is the best piece of elementary school art that has ever happened.
But we all have nephews and nieces, right? All three of us?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Hardcore.
Watching their quote-unquote art, watching their performances is more torturous than anything Wednesday put Pugsley through.
Yes, for sure.
That's their faces when they go through Lurch and Grandmama and Morticia and Gomez, and they're just like, fuck.
And maybe if you have your own kids, it's better. But if you are as like just uncle and or aunt, it's awful. It's the like. And then imagine that if you're not even related to them. It's just the worst thing that's ever happened.
The way this intersects with what we were talking about earlier is I think how convoluted the Fester is pretending to be the Lost Brother is the Lost Brother thing. I think that's also very harkening back to these gothic Blood and Thunder stories in the same way. They're convoluted and plot twist right at the end. The way it's like 7 months later, it's like, when I got my memory back from being hit by that lightning, I remembered that I'm really the real Uncle Fester. I felt like that was a good gag, but because that is very much like how the source material would handle that.
It's like, I want all the drama of this plot twist, but then also he gets hit in the head with a pan at the end, and then he remembers, and then it's totally
It also does make it make more sense why they can actually believe that it's him, that he looks so much like him. It's like, well, no, it doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that he looks so much like him.
Did you guys in your research, did you find the story that originally he was supposed to be an imposter, and they were just gonna be like, cool, and the actors hated it so much they're like, send Christina to Barry.
Christina.
Wow.
Because he'll listen, he can't scream at a 10-year-old. And then she was like, Barry, it doesn't make emotional sense. Audiences will be like, but where's real Fester? They just don't care about real Fester now?
Barry, it's down to the stakes, Barry.
Mike, in your head, is she not Christina? Is she Wednesday? Is she just like, look.
Oh, yeah, deadpan.
Barry.
If you want this movie to make a killing, you're going to have to make a series of painful cuts, Barry.
Otherwise, I will fucking kill you.
When we come back, it's time to go on a bit of a shopping spree.
Hey, Daddy, I want a golden goose. Here we go again.
Here we go again.
All right. Daddy will get you a golden goose as soon as we get home.
No, I want one of those.
I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket.
Well, man, I'm gonna have to get me some new suits.
Well, if your turn comes up and you can try to get some of those new suits, maybe you will. Addams Family is nothing if not a movie full of delicious products that you can just run around and grab and fill up your greedy little bag with. And so that's what we are going to do. We are going to tear ass through this movie.
I swear to God, every time we do shopping spree, it's like for Tarkovsky's The Mirror. And I'm like, cool. That's bullshit.
I'll take the grief, I guess.
This is a shopping spree movie.
I want my mom to also be the lady I marry. But in this, you could stop basically any like scene in the movie. You could stop and then like pick 3 things that you'd want. And I hope that's what we're going to do right now. Ryan, what's the first thing you want to grab, Greedy Gets?
I don't know if this is too big, but I do want, and I watched both Addams Family and Casper this week, and they both have an underground vault where you pull a book out, and then the bookcase spins around, and then it turns into a slide, and there's like a literal amusement park underneath your house. Where in Addams Family, it's like Pirates of the Caribbean, where like you have to, but there's like a gondola that you leave, and then you sail down the river to the vault. I want the vault.
And then you kind of say, okay, so you want that water. You want the vault where they like under everything.
Yeah.
Okay, you can have that.
I don't even care about the jewels. You guys can have the jewels.
Yeah.
I want the vault.
But you want the whole watery area with the gondola that you like go through to get to the secret area.
You pull the book, you go down the slide.
Wait, you want the whole? No, because these are separate things, Ryan. You're saying like
so
18
many
things.
Yeah, you're talking about like 5 different parts of the house all together.
There's parts where Mike is like, "Oh, I want all of the houses in the movie."
You can have one part of the house. We're gonna have to split up the house. Okay, the house
one
is very
part of the
good.
vault.
You can have the vault, or you can have that.
The vault is like where they're hanging out below ground.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so fine. I want the bottom part where Fester spins and then he sees all the gold, and then there's also a projector that shows all of our memories. I want the very bottom
the
part.
memory. That's awesome.
Okay, very good. That you can have. Up
So
next,
I'm going to say bottom vault.
Bottom vault. Up next is me, and the reason I took issue with your grabbing so much stuff, Ryan, is I want that slide.
Damn it!
I'm going to take that cool slide where the whole time you're going down it, you're like, am I going to die? Is there going to be like spikes or the very Goonies style slide? Clearly, it's a slide with one turn in it, and they just kept sending them down and then filming it over and over and over again to make it seem very long.
It does. It's amazing to watch. Like, what kind of person are you? Are you a Gomez who has the most fun down the slide, or are you a Fester who screams the entire time?
Say, for argument's sake, say Gomez broke his arm on the slide. Does he like that? Is he glad that his arm is broken?
He probably comes a little.
And Morticia's like, I'm so glad you broke your arm, but I didn't break your arm, and I wish I broke your arm in sex. I don't know what they think about anything.
Yeah, it's very confusing when you get into Bizarro.
Gomez,
now, Greg,
I was going to break you off a piece.
Does your slide, because there's a dozen rings, do you have the...
Are we in a strictly vault shopping spree right now?
Yeah, we are just under the house now.
Do you have the erroneous ones when you pull the wrong one? It'll shoot you through Pugsley's fish tank, and you get shot through the Pugsley or Wednesday trapdoors?
Why did they say Pugsley and Wednesday?
They have their own little special trapdoors in their rooms.
Yeah, that's how it works. I have the whole deal, right? You got to take the bad with the
hamster,
good.
the hamster maze of slides.
Yeah. I do like the idea of just like someone sitting in a room and I just go through in a tube. You know?
Hi, I'm Greg.
I guess Greg's got errands to run.
Oh, Greg's in the tube again. Great. All right, Mike. I feel bad for you because you get to go now. You have 2 picks here, but you've lost a couple biggies already.
I have. I'll start with. I guess we can call this top vault. Is the bookcase that'll spin around, but also if you pick the wrong book, whatever its title is will come real. Is this 2 things or 1 thing?
Mike, that's clearly 2 things.
All right, then I want magic books. I want magic books.
Okay, so like the Hurricane Irene, which unfortunately was a devastating real hurricane. After this came out, like the book where you open it up and wind.
This movie should be canceled.
I love that Gone with the Wind. What comes out isn't like a bunch of lost cause fuckers. It is just there's some wind. The sun also rises. The sun comes out. So like whatever. Also, the most obvious pun.
The thing is, like, I was fascinated with this bookcase when I was a kid. Like, I just wanted them to like open more books.
Yes,
because these books don't understand literature.
Yeah.
There's your fucking movie.
They take titles literally. I want to see that. And the things they did was just wind-related shit. Oh, what's another wind-related book that I could open?
Yeah, there's multiple ones that were just wind.
They open Old Man of the Sea, and they're like, well, the sea is windy, so we're probably going to be able to do
Good point. All right, so Mike, yours is the magic books.
Magic books.
Yeah.
Mike.
That's always going to get it for me. So you win round 1. Mike, what is your first pick of round 2?
Look, this is, I know maybe won't get me a point. This is just, I got to be true to who Mike is and who Mike's been his whole life. I want a couch in the middle of a cemetery in my backyard. That is too on brand for me to not try to steal that. 1, backyard couches rule. You can, if you drop your cigarette,
Backyard
it's fine.
couches stink.
I know. And they rule. And in the middle of the cemetery, oh man, young Mike loved hanging out in cemeteries, guys. Let me tell you.
I'm going to give you cemetery couch, even though I feel very much like that's 2 separate things.
Can't you picture though young Mike being like, "Oh, this backyard has a couch. Oh, I'm partying here."
Dang.
I'm
Hey,
not going to move at all now.
Does this raccoon live in here? Cool. This couch comes with a pet. I love it. So for my next one, the scene that really spoke to me was when Wednesday is going to electrocute her brother. And she's just got this vast array of great-looking toggle switches.
Oh, yeah.
And I realized
how many Togo and Toto, Greg?
Yeah, right? Very, very mystery men. But like a wall of toggle switches is so gothic in its own way, very Frankenstein. So I want to go with some nice big toggle switches.
Toggles.
I'm not even sure if I'm gonna
easily.
Yeah, right. I can just hook that up. Sometimes the things we want are like a $300,000 car. Sometimes we just want a big switch that we could get and put on our wall.
And it's so good for drama because she has to do them slowly one by one.
Yeah.
She can't skip to the last one though, because the last one won't work unless you did all of the other ones slowly in order.
And sometimes you gotta like pump them, you're like up and then down.
No, there's a couple times where like Christina Ricci is not strong enough, and she struggles to bring it down.
I got to say, full disclosure though, obviously this is totally bullshit because I have a circuit breaker at home that I never play with.
Oh yeah, that's true.
If you're not playing with your own fuse box, buddy, then you don't need to go out and buy toggle switches. We have a fuse box at home. All right, Ryan, what do you want to end this second round?
Based on the world of the movie, we only know what the movie tells us.
Yeah.
And based on the world of the movie, Cousin It pulls up in a car. Again, based on the world of the movie, that only plays MC Hammer songs.
Yeah.
And so what I would like is a tiny car fit perfectly to me that plays MC Hammer. But when I lift up my future door, what do they call it? Like the wing door?
The gull wing door.
The MC Hammer knows to turn down and not play music that loud anymore.
Because you got to say hello to people. Also, this isn't a normal car. This is like a 3-wheeler car.
The only button on the radio is restart, and it's to restart that same exact MC Hammer song.
Well, a tiny little car that just plays MC Hammer. Ryan, you are the winner of that second round. Moving on to our last and final round. Ryan, what is your pick?
I have to say, Greg, a train with a human in it. What the fuck is that shit? And it I don't know if it's a pet. I don't know if I have to take care of him, but I do know that and I'm going to go to
they have so they have a model train set.
Mm-hmm.
And then inside that train is a little man.
A full, a guy in a business suit going off to business.
Reading the newspaper.
Right.
In his head, he is just a normal human being, and then a giant is suddenly looking out the window. He doesn't think, it's not like the wall in the...
He thinks his life is real life.
Yes.
Oh, solar opposites.
Solar opposites. It's not that situation. It is, because there's a few things that are just straight up Charles Addams panels, and this is one of them, where it's a giant conductor dude looking in the train. It is one of the weirdest, and the house is shaking because the whole time you're like, oh, there's a real train out there. It's fucking insane.
Because the kids are frightened.
Yeah.
The kids are trying to hug their mom, saying,
Dad's
oh my God,
playing with the train again.
Daddy is about to get abused.
Because it's some sort of weird portal. That guy, I don't think he lives there. I think he got sucked into it because when this dude plays with his trains, people get sucked into it to be part of the scenery.
I would like a train with a dude in it.
All right, dude. The soul-sucking train.
That's good.
Might be hard to beat that one, Mike. Honestly, that might be hard to beat it. Once you have a train that also has a human soul in it. But I will try to beat it. And what I would like, I want a house with a foyer.
Oh, wow.
The Addams Family, they've got a big foyer, or foyer if you're nasty. And I think that it would be
Wait, hold on. Greg, for people who don't understand, this is not their porch. Is this the side thing where they hit golf balls off of?
No, this is when you walk in. It's like their entryway.
Oh.
So when you walk
the
into
staircase spills out onto
double staircase, right?
Yeah,
Gomez comes down one stairs, goes up the other.
Like classic Gone with the Wind mansion style.
Yeah, it's this is how big this house is. They have a room just for like entering into the house. When you come into my house, you are either standing already in the kitchen or in the living room.
Or you're shitting in my toilet.
Yeah, like you are up, you're up in the business the second you come into my house.
Guts.
But like you can, if you have a foyer, you can make somebody wait. Just like 10 minutes. There's some magazines. Why don't you hold on until we're ready to accommodate you?
It comes from a time where to go to someone's house, you would have to show their like butler a little card with your name on it, and then the person at the house could not be at home for you, and that's what I would do to fucking everybody if I had this awesome foyer.
Like you could serve them an aperitif.
Yeah, dude, all day. All day.
A tiny little glass of green liquid liquor that
tastes like fucking black licorice.
Yeah, it tastes like shit. Yeah.
So foyer for Greg. Mike, what is your last pick?
It's another part of the house, and again, I'll follow my distinguished competitions.
We'll never own homes, and that's why like we're
millennials. We're not going to own homes. Given the rules of the film, what we've seen, I want a ballroom that looks like it is definitely not ready for a party, but the minute you rip a sheet off of one of the lamps or pieces of furniture, the party's in full swing and you're in great party gear.
I love the one of the aspects of being a monster is that you can just do magical things, or they're really good at stuff. I don't know why that's part of it, but like they are just expertly skilled at things.
There's a part right before that sheet comes up where Angelica Houston, the actress, looks at the camera and she's like, I don't know. And then rips off the sheet and then they're in a different room. It's like, I don't know what's happening.
Now they're waltzing amongst folks. I think they're really good at
this
stuff.
This is a meta movie pick. Like Mike is picking the magic of movies.
Yeah.
I think they might be good at stuff because this hints at, are they undead? Because when he says the Addams partied with Nero, did they or did they just mean our family line?
Yeah.
I think it's they're good at stuff because they are ageless, so they've had time to learn everything.
I think it comes from the source material, right? Which is primarily Dracula.
Vampire.
And they like in Dracula they talk about his ancestors, but it's clearly supposed to be him.
Yeah.
And he's just naturally very graceful and good at everything. So I think you're right. It just sort of comes from that.
How are we supposed to think that Fester was still an imposter when he knew all parts of the Mamushka dance and then was able to swallow those swords?
I don't know. I think for a lot of this movie, they're like, don't think about it.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
it's a vibe. Just let it vibe.
Do you see how transcendently beautiful Angelica Houston is? Think about that for a little bit, right?
Always be thinking about that.
So, Ryan, your pick was a man in a
train.
Yeah, and any train that has the soul
that feels
of a
derogatory.
man.
A man in a train is not really what he said.
But he looked at the window and he's like, "Oh, what is that?" Like he's living his life.
I see. I seem to have had a huge psychotic break.
Do you guys know the name of that actor, by the way?
No.
Is it Barry?
Is it Hugh Weeman?
It's Barry Sonnenfeld.
Oh,
Of course, that's him.
Well done, Ryan. Well, that's the end of Shopping Spree. I think I call a lot of bits my favorite bit, but this is definitely it. If only to think about what would it be like to have a big house or a train
or a normal sized house,
and also going first and picking a big thing, and both of you being like, absolutely not.
No.
I want part.
We need to have part of that ourselves. When we come back, it's one final question about this movie. Gentlemen, the next question is the director question. How does Barry Sonnenfeld do as a fledgling director? Does he bring something more than couldn't get Burton or I worked with the Coen brothers to the table?
I would, if you spent your whole life thinking that this was directed by Tim Burton, I'm not mad at you.
You're foolish, though, because it says right up top that it's not.
I know,
That's
but
true.
Much like everybody thinks that Nightmare Before Christmas was directed by Tim Burton, even though it was directed by Henry Selick, and it says Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Dude,
that seems weird.
This at least
wrong.
doesn't say Tim Burton's The Addams Family. That would be Burton only this year. He's Tim Burton's Wednesday on Netflix.
Wait, which is just it's just gonna be about Wednesday?
No, she's just the obvious main character this time.
Oh, I see.
But yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff that I thought. I think that he paid attention a lot to. I can't just make the Beverly Hillbillies, right? I have to give this style, and he did. And most of it was with the casting. It's always going to be with the casting. We'll get to that later. But I think that he has that like Joe Dante-esque, the director of Gremlins, sense of comedy, of like bombasticness, of like, especially in the first 10 minutes, I'm going to keep this moving. I'm going to keep this rotating. And so when the plot hits in, no one's going to be bored.
Yeah, I can chill a little, and it's interesting. He has said he doesn't want. I think like he doesn't say fuck Kevin Smith, but he basically says any director who just says the camera should be unnoticed is dumb. I am here. I am doing things. Fuck you. I'm going to let you know I'm here and doing things.
Right.
I'm going to move this camera around all over the place. And you can, part of me at first is like, what an egoist. And then you're like, I don't know. Hell yeah, man. Like, and
No,
that's why what I think of Barry Sonnenfeld is the intro to Men in Black all the time.
Yeah.
And
the
so
bug flying.
Yeah. And the bug flying. And he does do it. And it helps create this weird zippity doodah, not zippity doodah, but like zippy vibe.
Zippity doodah. I think that the thing POV camera that we get a lot is very important for both the comedy and the horror aspect of this movie. You know, like it keeps it going, and it also keeps it like what up the entire time.
Right.
And then like there's a lot of stuff like that where he is moving his camera so much. A lot of it seems desperate, but it's a likable desperate instead of a I see you, Barry. I see that you're not ready for this role.
And
desperate.
I would almost argue that because the frenetic pace of the movie, that it is kind of both ways. It's the camera is moving a lot, but it almost does not call attention to the camera, but feel like in keeping with the energy of the movie. Is that crazy to say that? Like,
yeah,
it's doing a lot, certainly, but like everybody's doing a lot. People are like jumping up on tables and dancing.
But like, it's sort of doing a lot in the same way that Gomez is. Like, I think Gomez is the heart of this movie is like always moving so that you don't see that he has no idea how to handle money. He probably can't handle this like this wedding or this marriage with Morticia, but who could?
He might be addicted to sex.
He might be addicted to sex.
Who isn't?
He's addicted to Gilligan. At one point,
I can't go. Gilligan's on.
At one point, they're like, hey, Gomez, we should leave now. And he screams at them, and Miss Gilligan?
You fools!
It's such a bummer that he died like in 94.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go. The only things I've seen, is it Raul Julia?
Uh-huh.
The only things I've seen him in that I know
Street
of
Fighter?
no, I didn't even know that.
Oh,
He definitely
dude.
has a Street Fighter face.
You should see his M. Bison. It's
is
really
M. Bison.
Phenomenal?
Yes.
But yeah, I think I think that you can really feel it with the editing, especially in the first 10 minutes, which we keep talking about, where the editing does not gel, and it's because no camera stopped long enough or hard enough to make clear edits. It's baffling. Like watching the first 10 minutes of this movie is worse than going on a 3D ride at Universal Studios.
Did he make it sequentially, and so he learned how to direct?
That's honestly what it. Or like if you watch Addams Family Values, like you can see how you went from student short film to an actual movie.
But I do, if you look at his like career pre this, it makes sense that he was the cinematographer for the Coens but also for Penny Marshall, so he did Big. Like there's a lot of like and that's where you're like, I'd say Coens leans horror and then Penny Marshall leans that family fun. Just like it's not just the set dressings and the music, but it is how he moves his camera blends these styles.
And I read a quote from him that said, this is about the second one again, but I threw a baby off the roof and I didn't get any flack from the studio. And that's why you make an Addams Family movie, right? Like I'm sending the same messages that like a Casper would have, but I get to do this stuff.
This movie ends with them wallowing in the graves of their ancestors.
Yeah. And Fester just screaming,
wake the dead.
dig.
Yeah.
Oh, God, dig so hard.
I feel like right at the end, in case you didn't get that, like, the movie was really embracing the darkness of this family. They're like, no, show them standing in the graves holding the bones of their relatives.
By the way, guys, I think I've said this before because I think this is his third movie that we've done for Movie of the Year. But do you understand how confusing it was for me as a kid to realize that Christopher Lloyd was not one of the single biggest stars of all time?
It's still baffling.
Honestly, having watched this movie, I still don't get it.
Like, we did Back to the Future and Who Framed Roger Rabbit on this show.
Yeah.
Now we're doing Addams Family. That, to speak nothing of Angels in the Outfield, as far as I knew as a child, he was George Clooney, Brad Pitt level.
Dude.
He was the biggest blockbuster
They should make a
maker.
movie called Ocean's Lloyd.
One Lloyd, that's all you need.
Lloyd of the Flies.
Did you feel like the energy in this family was at all too much. Like we celebrated the sexual dynamism of the spouses here, and but is there any other sort of like sexual energy that I don't know?
Well, do you mean that Morticia fucked Fester?
Or just that they all fuck each other? Is this the porn hubbening of my mind or something?
The porn hubbening. Right. It is like when she checks on Fester and he's like, oh no, she knows. Her vibe is not, oh, I know. It's like, something could happen out here in the cemetery.
Yeah, dude.
That is just how Morticia talks to everybody.
Well, that's also how we look at Morticia. I mean, every time Morticia talks to anybody, we're like, damn, girl, get it.
Fuck.
Yeah, dude. She's steaming up the camera every time. But, like, maybe it's something about how horny the parents are in proximity to the children and how fixated on each other the children are. But, like, after a while, I felt like there needs to be better boundaries about when this family's being sexy and when they're being like family.
I think that I'm always going to say that the Addams Family needs better boundaries.
Yeah.
Yes, that's fair. I think they are a great married example of marriage. They are not a great example of parents.
Yes. Yeah, I think that they leave a lot of parenting to be desired.
Although
honestly.
they do want that second kid. Do you guys remember what his name is?
Pugsley?
No, because
the
she's
third
pregnant.
kid. I'm sorry, the third
Hubert?
kid. Hubert. They named their third kid Pubert.
Do they show this kid in the second movie?
Oh, and he has a full-on mustache, which again,
he's an adorable little mustache.
Yeah. Oh,
backs up the fact.
I was imagining like an Eraserhead kid, to be honest.
No. He's an adorable baby. And then when Fester leaves with Debbie, the family knows something wrong because he turns into an adorable cherubic golden curly-haired baby, like normal kid.
Speed round.
You know what that means because it literally says what it is.
Is it speed round?
It's speed round, right? Yeah, good. Did the kid who played Pugsley get hosed by having to go toe to toe with a young Christina Ricci?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I think he's dead now.
Oh, is that
because of his lack of talent.
Right.
But not.
I think the OG Pugsley is dead from the show. Is this Pugsley also dead? Is it the
all
Pugsley curse?
All Pugsleys are dead.
All Pugsleys are in the future.
All Pugsleys go to heaven.
Are dead.
APAD.
I have to say, you know what? I feel like when you are as an actor adjacent to such a good performance, you can either try to match that performance or you can try to make room.
We should call this Pugsing out. Like he pugsed out and it was perfect.
He's a good sketch player. Right?
He provided a lot of room for her. He didn't try to, and honestly, I think he did a pretty good job. But having said that, I mean, her performance is among the best in the film.
When he was sitting in that chair and the camera swung right to her face, Pugsley asked, "What is the name of this game?"
Yes.
The camera swung to her face and she said, "Is there a God?" He knew to get out of the way of that camera so she could say that. And
I do think going to the sequel, which hopefully we'll have the pleasure of doing someday, like he gets better. He's not Christina Ricci better, but like he's definitely I
don't think he's bad. I watched an original episode of the show.
Oh no!
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And this the original Pugsley is different. It's closer to Frankenstein's monster than this one is, and just so like you know how like sometimes you get so chubby that like your face can't move.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had that.
We've all been
when
there.
I was a kid, dude. I look back and picture how chubby I was. I don't know how people weren't just constantly coming up to me and pinching my cheeks.
Yeah, it's like somebody put like just inflated your face until it was about to explode.
When I was a kid, I thought people should take me seriously, but now I look back at pictures of me as a kid, and I'm like, you can't. No,
of course,
I was in those little black short shorts, a striped shirt. Why would anybody take me seriously?
All I had was a giant lolly the entire time.
Would these people be insufferable to hang out with? We've been celebrating them a lot, but like, if you had to know them and live next door to them, would they be insufferable?
I think that I would love Wednesday's company. I think that I would love to babysit her. I think that would be awesome and hilarious.
That sounds dangerous as shit.
Yeah, it does.
You're very brave, though.
But I get it. But I also like Morticia. The whole family is annoying together. But like, if you're on a double date with Morticia and Gomez, it's probably a fun time. You don't get to talk a lot, and the whole time you're like, "Are we all gonna fuck?"
Also, I wouldn't be able to handle how gorgeously lit Morticia was the entire time. I would want some of that lighting. I would like jump in front of her face to get some of that lighting, so I would not be able to handle that.
She has some sort of magical mirror that shines just the right amount of light on her eyes. Is Dan Hedaya cursed to always play a lawyer?
Dude, did he not look like Paul F. Tompkins Sr.? with his hair and with the way he talked. He was Paul Tompkins' dad the entire time.
Is he still around? Could we make that happen for something?
He is long dead.
Oh, bummer. But yeah, I just wanted him to yell at Cher the whole movie.
Yeah.
Could we could learn the mamushka, right?
Who's getting married next?
Oh, are we adding those?
Unnatural 20s?
Oh, is that Caitlin from Unnatural 20s? Mike,
Oh, yeah.
the three of us should learn the mamushka.
Yes.
We should
even
just
the
learn to
adorable
do
little cute love knife taps on each other's face.
Yeah,
in the
dude.
mamushka.
Such gentle knife taps.
And who'd they do it for? They're like, we did it for Rasputin.
Yeah. We did it for Nero. We danced the mamushka while Nero's fiddling. We danced they go on this long and he's like, and now for you. It actually feels like just because a guy showed back up, it's not as big of a deal as all the other things.
When we come back, it's award season. You know what that means. It's time for 5 awards. The first award is Best Pound for Pound Performance. Oh, at first I should say, apparently, for some reason, this didn't win any Academy Awards. So I know the real Addams would probably murder some people for that one, but like in kind of like a fun off-camera way. Best Pound for Pound Performance. Mike, what do you think? Who is it?
I think it's
This is the hardest one.
It is difficult. This
is
not
the hardest
easy.
award. This is like the hardest part of the entire show so far because there's about 8 people going for the reward. But who did you say it was, Mike?
Angelica, for how not scenery she chews, but still steals focus, for how you can be quiet and own every scene like that, and just like the way she had to move. And if you read, she had to move that way because she would burst every piece of tape holding her face and close together. But
in a literal metal like container, her torso was in,
and her eyes were taped in a weird, uncomfortable way. Like
because she does have like a weird expression a lot of times.
So she had to like Batman turn her whole body, but the grandma, I guess, was also in pain the whole time, and Houston said only got through it because she was just high throughout the whole film because she was so covered in latex and shit. That's how she got through the shooting.
You know what?
Drugs, guys.
Sometimes that's what it takes to get through. Ryan,
some drugs.
What do you think for Best Pound for Pound?
Angelica is a perfect answer. I think there's only 2 others, and because we already talked about Christina, I think I'm going to go with Raul. I don't know if anybody has ever had more fun. Been like, oh, I'm going to put this fucking tone of this movie, not the script, just the tone of this movie on my back and just have an absolute blast as Raul Julia. And he said as he died, because he died way too young, way too early, probably because he was M. Bison. I think it was because of a Saget kick to the head. Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Bob Saget's mean, man.
But it was a Bob Saget. You don't want to be in the way of a Bob Saget kick. That this was his this was his favorite role because kids would run up to him and say, Gomez, Gomez, please be Gomez. But yeah, like he knows more about the energy of this movie than anybody else.
Yeah, and I think he is giving a lot, and he's doing the same thing we were talking about earlier, which is he's creating space a lot of times. There's a part where they're like, a dark spirit was following me, and he's like, Pugsley? And his delivery of that is so perfect. Yeah, I think, I love Angelica Houston, but I do think that probably he steals the show.
And the real answer is Christina Ricci.
And of course, the real answer is Christina Ricci. All right, how about director moment? We gave a little bit of guff to the director in this one, but Ryan, how about best director moment?
I like Men in Black is I think the Bible for this director.
Yeah.
So looking to Get Shorty is a little hard, but for this one, I like, besides the fact that, did you guys notice that the opening credits were written in Men in Black font?
Yeah, that fucked me up.
No, I didn't notice that.
That was weird. But it's got to be that opening scene of we're tracking all the way through the carolers, up. We hear the Addams Family song, and they dump that thing. That's what he is into, and now we're in the movie. This is the kind of movie that we're doing because of this opening scene.
Very good. I like that. What do you say, Mike?
Mine is another tracking, because I do think Seinfeld's thing is tracking shots, but I think his energy is a little more frenetic, and it has to be the Thing FedEx commercial when they all have to get normal people jobs and the thing's running through that, and he isn't there yet. They are diving in front of him and throwing papers at thing. Like how, like, it's a cartoon and nothing matters. I just need more chaos to happen while moving through the office.
That is such a good one. But the bringing up the Men in Black, that opening sequence, you could tell, like, when he told everybody about this movie, I bet he spent so much time specifically talking about this one opening shot he was going to do. And then
I think it works. I think it's perfect.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, you are 100% on board at the end of this shot. Like, you understand what the visual language is going to be. You understand what the tone is going to be.
And I read that he really wanted to stay away from the theme song. But the fact that the theme song hits right there is so good.
All right. Next is not our favorite category, but I think a lot of people on the show think that it is our favorite category. Cringe.
We wish we could not do this award. Give us one uncringed movie. That'd be amazing.
And sometimes we get pretty close. Mike, did we do it this time? Is this a cringe-free experience?
It was not easy to find a cringe, especially when you set up this kind of family. Like, they're supposed to be dark. Oh, we're good.
Yeah.
I will give one line that even for the Addamses, this went too far. And it was, they're talking about Fester when he's finally starting to play with the kids. And Gomez says, "And so good with children." And Morticia says, "They never proved anything."
Yeah.
That's when I was like, oh, okay.
Mike, there's a chance he was just killing those kids, though.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with murdering kids.
He might have just been murdering children. Ryan, what do you say?
That's a good one, Mike. But I'm going to say the treatment of twins who are attached by the body seemed like they
Flora
are
and Fauna. Yeah.
Flora and Fauna, the way that the movie treated them is like they're amongst the freakiest freaks that we have ever seen in our entire life. Look at all these terrible people. Also, this real life condition. Also, freaky as shit.
Yeah.
Let's make some jokes.
That's good. The reason that that's going to win is because I'm sure there's people who are conjoined who are watching this movie and they're like, I'm just going to pop in the Addams Family, have a little fun. It's like, now we're making fun of you. Oh, okay. That's rough for me. That hurts my feels. All right, so now we're going to get to the Addams Family specific awards. This first one is, who should get a spinoff? Ryan, who in this movie is deserving of their very own spinoff?
Greg, it has to be Barry Sonnenfeld. He's on a train going to where? What does he think about his life right now? Some giant, a giant, put his eye, much like the T-Rex put their eye directly into the Jurassic Park window of the Jurassic Park car and said, "Hey, what's up?" And this guy must be like, "Oh my goodness, this is crazy to me." And then this guy continues on the train to go to work, but then get in a car crash. And did Samuel L. Jackson stage that car crash to find out who is the biggest superhero amongst all of the tiny people that live in Gomez Addams' world? Greg, it's Barry Sonnenfeld.
Do you remember the part in From Hell, the comic book, where the guy actually does manage to go, like, see forward into the future, and what he sees is a dude just ironing his shirt?
Yeah.
That's what this dude reminds me of.
Oh, cool power.
He's, like, wrapped up in something supernatural that he doesn't understand, and he's reading his newspaper through it.
Just like, what?
Mike, what do you say? Who deserves a spinoff?
Because it's this family, and I want to figure out what their deal is. Lurch. I'm going to give this to Lurch. Why does he serve them? Is he undead? Is he connected to the family? Or they're just like, you're tall and gray. Come hang out with us. We won't make fun of you.
Is he a Frankenstein? He kind of looks like maybe he's a Frankenstein.
But a little zombie-esque.
Yeah, but
there's a great shot where he's in front of a Tombstone billboard, and I was like, all right, Barry. All right.
Yeah, there we go. You know what? I almost said that I wanted a Lurch in Shopping Spree, but then I was like, don't try to buy
people.
Don't try to buy people.
Yeah, that's why I didn't have Thing.
But, like, he's a meat monster? Is he stitched together? I mean, I would like to get a little bit more. I would like to get a little bit more on the behind-the-scenes thing. Okay, it is a movie. It's basically a cartoon, right? I was a little bit surprised they didn't do that thing that a lot of late 80s, early 90s movies did, which is the opening sequence is a cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
They opted not to do that, maybe because it would, like, tonally...
But you have to admit that every time they threw something, it went off screen and glass broke.
Yeah, for sure. But what
admit.
What is the best visual gag, Mike?
I think we've talked about it throughout. There's so many, but we've talked about it throughout for a reason. It is no way. It is not Gomez Addams playing with his train, and then there's a little man inside of that train. That is fucking wild.
And how terrified everybody in the family is.
Yeah.
That Dad's playing with his train.
That's even more unhinged than usual.
Ryan, what do you say?
I think that's crazy, Mike, that you would think that that's the obvious pick. But the obvious pick, the funniest part, the most iconic part of the movie is Little Pugsley and Little Wednesday going on stage and cutting off each other's limbs to the point where everyone in the audience is at a goddamn Gallagher show.
Seriously.
They're just Black Knighting from Monty Python on each other.
And there are shots in this movie. This is where Barry Sonnenfeld knows what he's doing. There are shots in this movie where he shows people covered in blood getting covered in more blood. Like he cuts away.
Yeah, they're already sprayed in the face with blood. And then you see it
more gets in their mouth and they spit it out.
Very good. That point is going to go to Ryan. So our awards, again, what was pound for pound performance, Ryan?
Pound for pound was Raw Julia.
Director?
The oil tracking shot.
Cringy moment?
Was, of course, the
Conjoined Twins.
Conjoined Twins.
Spin-off recipient?
That's Lurch.
And visual gag?
Was the bloody play.
The bloody play. When we come back, we're going to wrap up this episode. I'm going to tell you who won, and we're going to ask ourselves, can Addams Family maybe win this whole thing? Well, here we are at the end of the show. Time to wrap up our statements about Addams Family. First, I want to say who won. Gentlemen, you both did a great job. I'm still getting back in the swing of scoring. Low-scoring affair, but I think it's because I was so wrapped up in what you were saying. It's just
I thought it was a high-scoring affair.
Well, Mike scored a high 28 points.
Oh, okay.
But Ryan scored an even higher 32.
Oh, shit, that's not even close, bitch.
That's pretty close.
You're a bitch.
That's
Ouch.
That is a drubbing. You're not a bitch, Mike.
Thank you.
Well,
I think it's fine to be a bitch, but I don't know if I am one.
We know that Ryan has won. We know that Ryan is my best friend for this week. What we don't know is how's Addams Family gonna do. It's hard to tell because it's just the first movie we see from this season.
It's the first movie.
But do we think it has what it takes to take this whole thing down?
Here's what I think. We're going to do some bonus shows, Nashville style.
Yeah.
And we're going to be like, fuck.
Yeah.
Addams Family. We put Addams Family in the bracket.
Well, here's the thing, though. It just lined up this way. Like, there are matchups where, you have 60.
Sometimes you don't know.
Yeah, you have 64, and then it's like you go all the way through, and it's not that we were ever blown away by
this was a
Addams
top
Family.
8 seed.
Yeah,
And
it just was.
What kind of lack of integrity would we have where at the last minute we're like, I guess JFK is in, even though it never went up against Addams Family. I guess nothing means anything.
If we do it as a bracket, then we have to accept that good and bad. And so I think in a way there were much better movies that didn't make the bracket. But
fuck Oliver Stone. Addams Family is a better movie than JFK. Let's move on.
Okay, I'm not going to go that far, but I do like this movie.
I do like it too. Yeah.
I do think that this is a fun, awesome movie.
Pure vibes. I think this is a movie you could throw on in any situation and you don't have to pay attention.
I think it's better. I think it is a better movie than Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Is it better than... Sorry, go ahead.
And I think it's a better movie than Death Race 2000. I'm thinking, of the other kind of campy, zany movies we've seen, I think it's among the best.
Here's the real competition. Is it better than Men in Black?
I think it is. I think this is better than Men in Black. I think this has better performances than Men in Black and is more fun.
Let's do a Sonnenfeld bracket someday.
Barry, you got to admit that Sonnenfeld knows where the charisma is.
Yeah.
And Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, Raul Julia, Angelica Houston.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
That's a double date I want to be the fly on the wall of.
But the sense I'm getting is that we liked it. We liked talking about it.
It's so fun.
We'll want to watch it again. But it's just it's dead in the water, right?
It's a toast.
Because this isn't Terminator 2, which it's going to be like...
Is Terminator 2 in this season?
Terminator 2 isn't the season.
Oh, why are we doing a season?
Terminator
2 wins.
Because that's also a popcorn flick, but I think it's giving way more than Addams Family.
And I'm very excited to watch it and be like, even though there's time travel and robots and convoluted things, is it still easier to follow than the Addams Family hijinks? I bet it is.
But I'm so glad we watched it, and I would say people's memories of Addams Family, it's better than just a movie that you enjoyed as a kid. I think it really is very funny and very effective.
And ultimately, it's better than the Beverly Hillbillies movie.
Yes.
That's what we came here to say.
If you take nothing else from this episode, it is better than the Beverly Hillbillies movie. Well, that is everything we have to say about Addams Family. The 91 season has begun in earnest. if you see what I'm doing there. We still have movies like Terminator 2 coming up. We have T2 Judgment Day. We have the sequel to Terminator. We have a little Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle that I think you're going to like quite a bit. All that and more on this season of Movie of the Year. Keep watching those movies. Keep watching those movies.